News.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. The chief of police at Utah State University has resigned as the school investigates comments he made about sexual assaults to the football team earlier this year. Earl Morris quit today, a day after the school placed him on administrative leave, pending confirmation of what administrators called reprehensible and unacceptable comments made to USU student athletes. The resignation came after an audio recording was made public as part of a lawsuit filed Tuesday in federal court. During the alleged football team meeting, Morris is heard warning players that LDS women, quote, may have sex with you, end of quote, but then tell their religious leaders that it was non-consensual. He continued to explain that the women might be feeling regret for having sex before marriage, which goes against the faith's teachings of abstinence, so they will say it was assault. In the lawsuit, Katriana Flint alleges that the university continues to protect its football players and deliberately disregard women when they report they were sexually assaulted by a member of the team, which she claims happened to her. USU spokesperson Amanda Dorito said the recorded comments are not consistent with the university's values or the trainings provided on sexual misconduct at Utah State, nor do they reflect USU's efforts to prevent sexual misconduct and reduce barriers to reporting. Students and employees should feel confident that when they report sexual misconduct, the university will respond without bias, according to Dorito. Morris began serving as USU's police chief on July 1st, 2019. Previously, he was the director of public safety for Brigham Young University, Hawaii, and the Polynesian Cultural Center, both operated by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. KBNU News Time is 4:07. KBNU weather for tonight: cloudy skies, snow this evening, chance of snow after midnight, accumulation around 1 inch, low near 20, and then a 30% chance of snow in the morning on Friday, mostly cloudy around 30 degrees, partly cloudy and mid-20s on Saturday. It's been to 32. It's 29 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather is brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Turn life up. Schedule a free hearing evaluation with Dr. Paul Danes at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Go to cachehearing.com. That's cachehearing.com.
Santa's sleigh carries lots of toys for girls and boys, but it's not quite big enough to fit a real building. Northern Steel Buildings can build you that custom building you've always wanted in a timely fashion. They specialize in custom buildings from commercial, industry, warehousing, shop, agriculture, and aviation that's built to last. Schedule a free consultation at northernsteelbuilding.com. That's northernsteelbuilding.com, or call them at 435-677-7300. That's 677-7300. Value from concept to construction.
KBNU News Time is 4:08. On the issue of compensation for Cache County elected officials, the members of the county council will be going back to the drawing board next month. On the advice of County Attorney John Luthi, County Council Chair Gina Worthen announced today that the controversial amended version of Ordinance 2021-25 passed by the council on Tuesday as null and void. Worthen explained that members of the county council had mistakenly assumed that a previous public hearing on the county's 2022 budget had provided sufficient opportunity for public comment on official salaries included in that budget. But the Utah State Code specifies that no changes shall be made in existing salaries of county officers until the county legislative body in a county desiring to change existing salaries of county officers first hold a public hearing at which all interested persons be given an opportunity to be heard. County Clerk and Auditor Jess Bradfield attempted to offer a comment prior to the final Tuesday night vote amending the ordinance, but he was denied the opportunity to speak by Worthen. The council chair said that at a public hearing on official salaries, would be held during the panel's first meeting in January, following a vote at the council's second monthly meeting setting compensation levels for elected officials, including council members themselves. And an eastern Idaho sheriff has been charged with 2 felonies after state investigators accused him of threatening a church youth group with a gun. The group had dropped a thank you note off at his door. EastIdahoNews.com reports the Idaho Attorney General's office charged Bingham County Sheriff Craig Rowland with aggravated battery, assault, and misdemeanor exhibition of a gun on Tuesday. Rowland agreed to take a leave of absence shortly after the allegations arose in November, though he still retains his elected position as sheriff. Rowland declined to comment on the charges. He has not yet had the opportunity to enter a plea. KBNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Keeping you informed 24/7. News Talk KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
At Winco, we're working to save you money. Big savings on top quality meat, produce, seafood, and deli. Bakery fresh breads, cakes, and cookies made daily in store. Low prices on top quality national brands and thousands of our own private label. In every aisle, every department, every day.
Now open in Logan at 1341 North Main Street.
As we usher in the holidays with great celebrations and eager expectations, Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Jessup Insurance is truly grateful to those who've made this past year so wonderful. Happy holidays from the entire team at Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services, let us guide you. You always had it in you.
She was screaming and crying. We didn't know how to help her.
To fight monsters and win.
Every day, thousands of kids like Gwen enter a Children's Miracle Network hospital, many fighting for their lives. It doesn't take much to lend support for kids at your local Children's Miracle Network hospital.
This isn't just an ear infection. This is our daughter. We didn't know how to help her.
For ways to help, visit us at helpkidstoday.org. helpkidstoday.org.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have 2 guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People, Thursday, December 16th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio as well, kicking the show off today with our weekly look into arts, entertainment, the theater here in Cache Valley, and a little beyond sometimes, with our good friend Charlie Schill of CacheValleyDaily.com. You can read Charlie's work each and every day at CacheValleyDaily.com, news stories, reviews, and more. And he takes an hour out of his week every Thursday at 4 to join us here in the studio and tell us what he's been up to. And it's always a lot. He's, do you ever, I was thinking about this after last week's show when we talked about everything you've been doing, Charlie. Do you ever just sit and watch TV? Is that, do you ever just say, no, I don't want to go out tonight? I know there's great stuff, but
lately
I'm watching some Blacklist.
No, lately I've been watching Sesame Street.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my grandson has discovered Sesame Street somehow or other, and he will come into the living room in his walker. He can't walk yet. and point at the television.
And that means it's time.
That means it's time for Sesame Street.
That's not a bad choice. Sometimes I think I'd be better off if, when I do watch, I spent more time with Sesame Street instead of. I have this problem with the streaming services, Netflix and others, where I get 4 episodes into something. It's the same problem I had with network TV, why I never watch it. It's not that I'm above it or don't like some things, but I get 4 or 5 episodes into 13-episode show, and then something happens. I'm busy for a couple of weeks. I forget about it, and then a couple of weeks becomes 6 months.
What you saw.
Yeah, and then I never get back to it, and that's the end of it. It's unfortunately just the way my brain works, but that's why I'm kind of a fan of these, theater shows. You just go. It starts, it's over, and then you go
There's
home.
Only one.
That's right. And if someone asks you for details, you don't need them. You remember if you liked it or didn't. And I was thinking about this, though. A listener emailed Friday of last week, the day after the show, and said, curious if Charlie has any standout moments from his years going to shows and sitting in theater seats, if there are a couple of experiences you've had that you just tell everybody about all the time. Good or bad, she says in the email. She says good experiences, bad experiences. And we've talked about some of them, I know. You have some favorite directors and some favorite artists.
Sure.
And some favorite and least favorite shows to go see, even though you'll still go to the least favorite.
Lots of least favorite shows.
Is there one you won't go see?
The Little Mermaid.
I can totally understand. I won't even watch the movie.
When I was doing this on UPR, there was 1 week where there was nothing going on, literally. And I said, okay, I'll just go in and rant. And I went off on Disney musicals.
Oh, man.
And there's a lot to go off on.
That's, yeah. Little Mermaid, for me, even younger when the movie came out, I almost found it insulting. Disney just phoning it in. And, so I've never been a fan. But it doesn't take much to get me out to Beauty and the Beast coming up in March, I think.
That's a good show.
So I'm not an anti-Disney in any way, but...
I am. I'm so tired of Disney buying everything.
Yeah.
Disney owns Star Wars. Disney owns Star Trek. Disney owns
that's right.
Everything.
They own it all.
I mean, the world.
It's true. And so far, they've left things alone. But I worry about a day when they decide not to, when someone else is at the helm and they decide, we're going to start fiddling with stuff.
Yeah.
That's Disney. It's interesting to me because Disney doesn't always. Disney puts out a movie, it's a hit. It'll make its money back. It'll be sitting on shelves at home, especially if you've got kids and grandkids. But not the case with their translation to theater. It doesn't always work, and that's always interested me that Disney can actually flop on the live stage.
Yeah, but it's few and far between.
Sure. Yeah, it's not often, but it's interesting that, and I've always wondered, are the audience's expectations higher? Is it just the price of the ticket? Usually theater is a bit more expensive than a rental or a...
Who knows? I find it hard to believe that people will shell out the money for a Broadway ticket to watch The Little Mermaid or even The Lion King. And there's a lot of artistry in Lion King because of the puppets.
Sure.
But, and that's a good segue into back to local stuff, because the Lyric Theater production of Christmas Carol has puppets.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Now
12 and 15 feet tall puppets.
Wow.
All the ghosts are puppets.
Man, I could actually see that being a little creepy.
Yeah, it is a little.
Which I'm sure was the intent, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's people forget in this story, in the Christmas Carol story. This is at the time when this was first written, it was considered almost a horror story. It was meant to scare and to shock and we now remember it as, I know I was talking with a younger relative recently. His only interaction with the Christmas Carol story is the Scrooge movie with Bill Murray and Carol Kane that we've talked about.
Yep.
And that's obviously a comedic version of it. But yeah, this was meant to be a warning.
See, and you got to be careful with Dickens because he was paid by the word.
That explains a lot.
He wrote a chapter at a time and submitted it to his publisher, and his things showed up in serials, in magazines.
That explains so much.
So much.
I've loved his stories, but every book of his that I've read, there's a point, usually about 3/4 of the way through, when I'm thinking, wrap it up. Come on, let's bring things.
Kill somebody.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, something's got to happen.
Something should happen.
That's, but he, he's another example of one that I've always wondered why you don't see. I mean, I know they exist, but you don't see local companies here in Cache Valley doing, which is the one that does get done. Is it Oliver Twist that gets done a lot?
Oliver, the musical.
The musical.
Yeah.
But you don't see that a lot.
Thank God.
Valley. Yeah, and there's a reason, right?
Because if you have, what do you call it? Weber State used to have a theater company like the Festival Opera. And they did great shows.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. But eventually it got to the stage where things were so expensive that it was costing, it was just detracting from a capital campaign that the university was running.
Okay.
You were spending so much time and effort getting the support, the financial support, to keep that show running.
That makes sense.
And the show was originally, the company worked out of a theater on campus that had about 350 seats, something like that. And packed them in every night. Well, then the university got involved in renovating the Egyptian Theater in downtown Ogden.
Okay.
And after they renovated it and made it beautiful, just like the Eccles Theater here, they moved our company down there to perform. Well, suddenly they're performing in a 1,200-seat theater.
Okay.
And you don't pack a 1,200-seat theater particularly with, again, the same kind of audiences we have here, older people.
That makes sense.
And the whole thing just became too complicated. And
then the whole thing got scrapped.
Yeah.
Because they don't run.
We shut it down. There was no way.
That's too bad.
It was unfortunate. There's a guy who's directed here for the Lyric, Jim Christian, who's done some of their musicals. And Jim was the director of, I don't even remember what the name of it, Utah Theater something or other.
Okay.
And he was a great director, and he was a choreographer on the side. So he did tap dance shows, a lot of them. 42nd Street. Trying to think of what other ones. The ones Tommy Toon used to do on Broadway.
Oh, okay.
Singing in the Rain with a splash pan. Everybody kicking water in all directions. But one of the most excruciating experiences I have ever had to sit through was he did Oliver. And it was a great show. It really was. And I don't like Oliver, but it was a great show. Except for the kid playing Oliver. And every time he opened his mouth, it was like listening to nails on a chalkboard.
I wonder if that's what that production hinges on, because two times I've seen Oliver the Musical and had that experience both times where Oliver ruined it. Which I know it's hard. That's a role for a child that a lot of times when children are in a theatrical production, they have a smaller role, and in Oliver Twist's case, it's a large role. But
did you see Annie when?
No.
Oh, you should have.
I heard about that though.
It was amazing.
I heard that
not only was the little girl who played Annie spectacular, but the whole crowd of kids who are in the orphanage, who have 2 or 3 production numbers, God, they were amazing.
I remember hearing that people were on their feet for that one.
No, it was a great show, and I couldn't even think of anything to criticize in it.
That's amazing.
But
that it shows that it can be done,
yeah,
even with children. Although I have to admit, I'm kind of tired of the annual live televised Annie. I think this is the 3rd year now that some network has done it.
Yeah,
I wish they'd pick a new one for that, just because they're fun. But yeah. All right, Charlie Schill here in the studio talking theater in Cache Valley. There's plenty for you to get out and see, and we'll lay it all out for you here on KVNU's For the People right after this.
NMLS 1817019.
This is Rod with LendRight Mortgage. Thanks to record high home prices, the new conventional loan limit just increased by almost $100,000. So now, anywhere in Utah, you can buy or refi with a conventional loan of up to $647,200. LendRight Mortgage can lock and close on this new limit now. We back our loans with our $1,000 lowest rate guarantee. And with record home values in Utah, those who had less than 20% equity before 2021 likely have enough equity now to get rid of mortgage insurance. Refi using your new value and get rid of wasteful mortgage insurance. Do it with our Freedom Loan and pay 0 closing costs. Get a rate in the 1s on 8 to 15-year terms. Rates are still in the 2s for 16 to 30-year terms. Call 801-APPROVE or visit lendrightmortgage.com.
I am Gary from Salt Lake in Logan today, doing our traditional annual Christmas shopping that we do and have been doing for the last 20 plus years at the Sportsman. We met the Felsteads many years ago. The shopping that we could do is probably very similar in terms of the merchandise that we get in Salt Lake City, but when we come up here, we absolutely love the Sportsman. We love the store. We love the service and the people that work there. We love the way that we're treated, something that we cannot experience in Salt Lake City. I would prefer to come up here and get personal service that I get from the Sportsman, and the selection they have and the quality of merchandise they have, as far as I'm concerned, is second to none.
Welcome, friend. Nice to see you again at the Sportsman.
I've got a math question for you. When you add tolerance, subtract prejudice, and multiply efforts to treat one another with respect, what do you get? Less division. And school sports have it down to a science. Looking for an example of what can happen when we realize there's more that unites us than divides us? Look no further than high school sports in Utah.
This message presented by the Utah High School Activities Association and the Utah Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Our friend Charlie Schill here in the studio this hour talking theater in Cache Valley and a bit beyond. Joins us every Thursday at 4 o'clock. You're welcome to join us as well, 753-5868. And Charlie, I know that you always have a list of things you want to get to on the show, but one other listener interaction that I wanted to mention. I don't remember what conversation we were having last week, but a listener emailed in and said, I think we were talking about there just being so many great things to go see right now and throughout the last year. We were kind of recapping 2021 a bit. And a listener emailed in and said, I don't know if it's just me, but there's something about the theaters, especially those in downtown Logan, but even the one up on campus, that the theaters themselves are nice to go to. And that, for her, adds a lot to the experience. And she told a story of going to this very low-budget theater that was on a campus in another state, and she said that it was an amazing performance, but the whole time, all she could smell were dirty socks and mold. And she said it ruined it for her.
It'd ruin it for anybody.
I think so. Yeah, we don't have to worry about that with the theaters here in Cache Valley. They're kept up, and they are pleasant to be in, especially that remodeled Utah theater. That's fun. The Kane Lyric Theater, to me, has always been beautiful.
Yeah.
Just the theater itself.
What Michael Ballum did with the Utah is just amazing.
That is.
I mean, the chandeliers, the curtains on the side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the sound in that theater is just crisp.
I thought that was, years ago when he was a state lawmaker, Dr. Ed Red asked me to come and moderate a panel on, it was either gun control or medical marijuana. Both were big issues at the time here in Utah, and he was hosting the panel as a state lawmaker. He had some experts he brought in, and I was just basically there to keep the time and to ask questions when things from the audience fell a bit quiet. And I sort of felt like we were disgracing the place up there on that stage, holding a panel, very informative panel, amazing discussion, but it just seemed so inappropriate for that newly remodeled theater that, I just... I felt like we were tainting it somehow with our public policy talk. But yeah, it's a beautiful theater.
It is.
And
it really is.
So what have you been up to?
Well,
theater-wise,
last Friday I saw. Well, maybe it was Thursday. I don't know.
You're going somewhere that night, I know, when we did the show last week.
Yeah, I think it probably was the opening of A Christmas Carol by the Lyric, which is just an amazing show.
Do you have a preference between the two? You've said see both, but only one's an option now, though, right?
Yeah, they're still performing this weekend,
Okay.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Okay.
The adaptation that they're using, which was developed in-house by Sid Perks, is just extraordinary. That's all you can say about it. I mean, you've seen a dozen Christmas carols, movies, theater, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Have you ever seen any comedy in A Christmas Carol?
No.
No.
Not that I...
But this one does. Leslie Brott is the narrator, and she's got all kinds of funny bits that she injects, and it makes the whole experience.
That is very cool.
Very different. And then you got Dennis Hassan, and he's done a great set that rotates and does all kinds of things and becomes an office and becomes a house and all that kind of stuff. And a street scene. And then out come these puppets who are the ghosts.
That's fascinating to me.
The ghost of Christmas Present is, or the ghost of Christmas Past is maybe 8-10 feet tall.
Okay.
And it floats. There are two people, and they're on stage. No excuses. No, apologies. You see the people in the black suits playing with the puppet, making it work.
Oh, okay.
But it floats.
Really?
And that's the way, that's the way a ghost should be. A ghost should float, right?
That is interesting.
The ghost of Christmas Present is, I don't know, maybe 15 feet tall.
Really?
Yeah. And it's just, the Ghost of Christmas Past is kind of spooky and ghost-like,
Sure.
There's no substantial body or anything like that. This one is 15 feet tall, and it's all there.
That is very cool.
It's very cool.
That's
the Ghost of Christmas Past to come.
Oh.
Is your big scary Hulk thing.
Yeah.
And given the way it has to be, the dark cloak and all that kind of stuff, you don't see much of it. It's eerie, but
that is interesting.
It is. It's wild. People really liked it.
That's a bit of a surprise because they didn't allude to this at all. It's and in most productions I've seen of Christmas Carol, it's just other actors.
Sure.
Playing the
dolled up.
Yeah.
Like Cody Rush in the Four Seasons production.
Sure.
But this is really pulling out all the stops.
That is very cool.
And there's a lot of music in it, not music like the Albert Finney Scrooge or like the Alan Menken musical that Four Seasons just did. But singing of Christmas carols and that sort of thing that breaks up the action of the show, and
that's fascinating.
It just feels right for Christmas. It really does.
That is, you might have gotten me out to this one just to see the puppets.
Yeah, the puppets are neat.
That stuff like that is fascinating to me. The skill that goes into making something like a 15-foot puppet believable.
What Dennis did was he designed the puppets, and he let his students, who were in his design classes, build the puppets.
That's fun.
Spend the semester working on them, and they look like months were put into them.
That is fun.
It really is.
That A Christmas Carol plays up until Saturday evening. 7 o'clock shows each day, including on Saturday at 1 p.m. matinee.
Yep.
There are some of the showing or some of the events I'm seeing here are pretty sparsely seated with what's left, but there are plenty and a couple of them. So plenty of opportunity for you to get out and see this tonight, tomorrow night, or two opportunities on Saturday, 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock. At the Kane Lyric Theater. I will link to the ticket page on our own Facebook page. This is one of the things with the Kane Theater that's always been a little bit of trouble. It's not an easy website to rattle off on air. It's usu.edu/. So, simple suggestion, just search for the Kane Lyric Theater. Make sure it's the one in Logan. There's a Lyric Theater in Stuart, Florida. I learned this week from a misfortune of a friend buying tickets to see something. It is not the Lyric Theater in Stuart, Florida. Make sure it's the Kane Lyric Theater in Logan, Utah. But again, 3 evening screenings, 7 p.m. tonight, tomorrow night, and Saturday, and a 1 p.m. matinee on Saturday as well of The Christmas Carol with puppets. We'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People and our friend Charlie Schill talking theater in Cache Valley after this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:39. The news is brought to you by Roof Rescue. The Utah State University police chief has resigned after a recording the institution called reprehensible came to light, showing the chief telling football players that some religious women may claim sex was not consensual because they regret it. The Salt Lake Tribune reports that Chief Earl Morris stepped down today after the newspaper obtained a recording of his comments about female members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The recording was also referenced by a female student who said in a lawsuit that the school mishandled her sexual assault report against a football player despite promising to improve following a previous sexual assault scandal involving a football player. Utah State has says that it has made progress. The Navajo Nation on Wednesday reported 38 new confirmed COVID-19 cases and 7 additional deaths. The latest numbers pushed the tribe's total to 40,615 cases since the pandemic began, with 1,569 known deaths. Based on cases from November 26th through December 9th, the Navajo Department of Health issued an advisory for 58 communities due to uncontrolled spread of COVID-19. Tribal President Jonathan Nez has issued a reminder to get the vaccine or the booster as the holidays approach. The reservation covers 27,000 square miles and extends into parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. And a fourth lawsuit has been filed with the Idaho Supreme Court against Idaho's Redistricting Commission, but it's the first challenging the new congressional district map. Christopher Pentico of Elmore County filed the lawsuit Wednesday against the Idaho Commission for Reapportionment and Secretary of State Lawrence Denny. The 3 other lawsuits challenged the new legislative district map. Pentico contends the new congressional district map violates Idaho's law because it splits 6 local voting precinct boundary lines in Ada County. Pentico says Idaho law allows splitting precincts only in the legislative district map, not the congressional district map. He also says the commission missed its deadline. KVNU News Time is 4:41.
If you think it's expensive to hire a professional, just wait until you hire an amateur.
Why the heck is the roof leaking? Larry, you said you got it fixed.
I thought it was fixed, Donna. Everything was fine until it started raining.
Larry, that's the point of fixing the roof, is so we can actually live here when it's stormy outside.
This is David with Roof Rescue. Our experienced roofing team is tried and true and will fix your roof guaranteed. Visit roofrescueusa.com to schedule your free roof inspection. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KVNU weather for tonight: cloudy, snow this evening, chance of snow after midnight, accumulation around 1 inch, low temperature near 20, a 30% chance of snow Friday morning, mostly cloudy, around 30 for the high. Partly cloudy Saturday, high temperature in the mid-20s. It's been to 32. It's 28 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering. They will stabilize, lift, and eliminate further settling by using Magnum Piering products to save you big money down the road. Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering are the foundation lifting experts. Visit poly-lift.com to schedule your free assessment or call or text 435-999-9309. Polylift is locally owned and operated. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is financial advisor Clayton McMurdy with Edward Jones, bringing you the closing market report for Thursday, December 16th. U.S. equities reversed their morning gains and finished lower, weighed by weakness in technology and growth stocks. While yesterday's market rally toward new highs conveyed confidence that the Fed tightening will help lower inflation without derailing economic growth, today's pullback reflects some valuation concerns as liquidity is gradually withdrawn. Cyclical sectors outperformed, with financials, materials, and energy leading the way, and European stocks bucked the trend, finishing more than 1% higher as the European Central Bank said that rate hikes in 2022 are very unlikely. Oil rose, the U.S. dollar declined, and 10-year government bond yields fell. In equities today, the Dow closed down 31 points at 35,897. The NASDAQ was down 385 points at 15,180, and the S&P was down 41 points at 4,669. And in bond markets, the 10-year Treasury yields are currently at 1.43%. In commodity markets, the price of crude oil was up $1.14 at $72.01, and the spot price of gold was up $34.40 at $1,798.90. In stocks of local interest, Apple was down $7.04 at $172.26. Autoleaf down $2.10 at $98.03. Campbell Soup up 69 cents at $44.18. GE up 45 cents at $92.53. Home Depot down $8.28 at $399.53. Lowe's down $4.30 at $253.24. Nucor up $5.68 at $113.90. Procter & Gamble up $2.25 at $161.11. R.R. Donnelley & Sons was flat at $10.70. Thermo Fisher up $5.51 at $661.25. Wells Fargo up $1.36 at $50.30. Walmart down $2.43 at $143.34. And Zions Bank was up 71 cents at $63.47. This has been today's closing financial market report for Thursday, December 16th, brought to you by Clayton McMurdy of Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and long-term financial advice at 1309 North Main Street in Logan. If you'd like additional information, please call us at 435-753-0537. Visit any of our 7 branches in Logan or on our website at edwardjones.com.
Wow, your cars look so shiny.
Thanks. I've been taking them to Green Gorilla Car Wash. Thanks to their new ceramic application, my cars have never had such a glossy shine.
Sounds expensive.
You haven't heard about their sale? Right now, their Jungle membership with ceramic coating is half off for every vehicle. Instead of $30 per month, I'm only paying $14.99 from now until September 2022.
That's almost a whole year.
I know. My half-price membership is good at both Green Gorilla locations in the Valley.
I better head there now.
Hi, this is Brad Hughley with Nelson Funeral Home. We would like to wish you and your loved ones a happy holiday season. We appreciate the support you have shown us over the years. The tradition of trust that started over 70 years ago continues today. We are ever committed to offering your family compassionate service during one of life's most difficult moments. Happy holidays from Nelson Funeral Home. Nelson Funeral Home, a tradition of trust. Se habla español.
Back to KVN News for the People. I'm Jason Williams, joined in the studio by Charlie Schill of CacheValleyDaily.com. Joins us every Thursday at 4 to talk theater in Cache Valley. You can read his work there at CacheValleyDaily.com each and every day. News stories, reviews, and more. And he's been talking to us about the production of A Christmas Carol at the Kane Lyric Theater, playing tonight, tomorrow night, and Saturday night at 7 p.m., and also a 1 p.m. matinee on Saturday. Still some tickets left. 15-foot puppets. This is. I'm very intrigued by this, and it sounds like you're a little surprised as well. Did you go into this thinking it's a Christmas Carol? You know, you can't really screw it up. Although I guess you can.
Yes, you can.
I've seen a few of those.
But they didn't.
That's amazing.
It's a good show. As Sid originally, he was adapting the show for large-scale theaters.
Oh, okay.
And Richie Call, who directed this show, was a little concerned about having to cut that cast down because of the size of the theater. And so he ends up with about 25 people in the cast, and he's double and triple casting people. And the show is just so professional.
That's very nice.
The costuming is first class. The sets and the puppets, first class.
I saw the lamb chops. I joked about those last week.
Yeah.
Such a staple of
and there
A Christmas
are huge
Carol.
lamb
I've seen it without those, and it stands out. Yeah, mutton chops. That's right, not lamb
chops.
Lamb chops are the small ones.
Yeah.
Mutton chops are Yeah, honestly, that's such a staple of the look. That was, of course, the look at the time. That was what was trendy at the time. But it's become, when people think of Scrooge, that's the look.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I guess authenticity would be a way to put that. It's interesting that, thinking of A Christmas Carol, after we parted ways last Thursday, I was thinking about this, why some, you have some productions where it's not only accepted but expected that it will update with the times, the costumes, the songs, even the language. They'll take the same story and just update it with the times. And then you have others like A Christmas Carol, where part of the Christmas Carol experience is that Charles Dickens language, the clothing of the era. It's part of it.
All the references to poorhouses and debtors' prisons and all of the evil social conditions.
Oh yeah, it was back in the time when we were still patting ourselves on the back for sewers and calling it good, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't enough. That is, I have to ask you a question, Charlie, because I under the advisement of the movie show guy, I watched this last weekend, and I don't know, maybe something's wrong with me, but so there's a movie on Netflix called Tick, Tick, Boom, which is the story, it's a musical, but it's the story of the production of a musical, but it's a musical in and of itself, and it's the story of the man who wrote and developed Rent.
Uh-huh.
And I've always hated Rent. I've tried not to. I talk to others and think I should like this.
Well,
but I never have. But I loved the musical story of making Rent. Tick, tick, boom.
The thing with Rent is it's so depressing. I mean, everybody's dying with AIDS.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good music in Rent, though. Take Me Out Tonight, Seasons of Love. It's not a pleasant experience. It's something that you see and think, oh, that was well done.
Mm.
I don't ever want to see that again, but it was well done.
That was, for me, it was that, and then I find some of the lyrics in the songs, the timing, I guess you'd say, of the songs just kind of awkward, and I never thought it was this amazing thing, but it obviously, I'm in the minority on that based on its longevity.
You've got to remember that we judge theater by how New York audiences respond to it.
Fair enough. And I can see why they'd love this.
I mean,
it's very New York.
It's very New York. Would Hamilton have been a multi-million-dollar success story if it had debuted here?
I doubt it.
I mean, people would react adversely to the exact thing that New York audiences responded to. That they loved.
Yeah.
All the minority faces playing the roles of white people.
Wrapping the story of Hamilton. I mean, it was, and I'll be honest, that's another one that went over my head or around my head. I didn't see that until they released the filmed version. Yeah. And I saw it, and it was a big meh for me. I mean, it wasn't bad. I love the story. Great acting, fun way to do it.
Yeah.
But it was just, again, I've seen more exciting.
There have been other things that have fit into an odd niche, and Hamilton fits into an odd niche.
That's a good point.
But I'm just utterly bazoo about Pacific Overtures. That's the Stephen Sondheim musical about Americans forcing their way into Japan and changing Japanese culture.
This one interests me.
And the way it performs in Sondheim's original production. All of the Japanese people are played by white Americans.
Mm-hmm.
All of the Americans are played by Japanese actors.
That's so interesting to me.
So you reverse the
roles,
the racial composition.
That is fascinating to me. Is that being done anywhere right now? It's on a bit of a hiatus,
Nobody
right?
will touch it.
Really?
Because you get cultural appropriation stamped on your forehead.
I think this one should get a pass because it's such an interesting thing to see that reversal that you're talking about.
And the music is wonderful.
Yeah, that one's.
It's not melodic. It's not.
No.
There's a lot of very odd tonal qualities in the music and the singing.
Yeah. But man, will it make you think?
Well,
that's what I liked about it.
And you would have to, if you performed it now, you'd have to put Japanese actors in the Japanese roles,
sure,
and white people in the white roles. And where are you going to find enough Japanese actors to do that?
That's and also it would take away, I think, some of the uniqueness of that original production, because that's what really stood out to me. These people having to play the roles of the other side of the history.
The same kind of reversal that you see in Hamilton.
Yeah, and I love that. 753-5868 if you'd like to join us. Charlie Schill, our guest here in studio, will be back with more right after this.
Pristine wilderness can still be found in the West, where creeks run freely and historic apple trees still bear fruit. Maple Creek Ranch features breathtaking canyon views and opportunities for real estate development. 2.5-acre lots are now available with adjacent wilderness areas that provide endless riding and recreational possibilities. So find your piece of paradise just 35 minutes from Logan at Maple Creek Ranch. Schedule your appointment online at maplecreekranch.net.
Logan Dental Associates has been serving Cache Valley for over 20 years. They are excited to announce the addition of Dr. Brandon Preby, hygienist Emily Preby, and Dr. Curtis Taylor. Dr. Preby and Dr. Taylor will also continue to work at Cherry Creek Dental in Richmond. Now allow for increased hours and advanced services at Logan Dental Associates in Logan. Call and make your appointment with Dr. Brandon Preby or Dr. Curtis Taylor at Logan Dental Associates by calling 435-787-8207.
You know what our family loves to do in the winter? We rent a cabin in Bear Lake. We play in the snow, gather around the fireplace, play games, and tell stories. Sometimes we go out to eat. Sometimes we stay in and watch a movie. You've got to try Bear Lake this winter. Your family will love it.
Start a fun new tradition this winter. Visit Bear Lake for some fun winter activities. Snowmobiling, skiing, sledding, beautiful scenery. Bear Lake has it all. Go to bearlake.org for hotel and cabin rentals and a list of things to do. That's bearlake.org.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Danes for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Sunny day, sweeping the clouds away.
Good choice, Bill. Charlie hasn't heard this enough this week. We'll get him excited to go home with grandkids. Welcome back to For the People. Just a couple of minutes left in hour one in our time with Charlie Schill this week, headed into a big holiday week. Next week, of course, there will be a bit of a pause in the theaters, but not for long, right?
No. They'll pick right up in January.
I'm excited to see what January brings, and I already know some of the things. In fact, I would guess in January we're going to be talking quite a bit about what USU students are doing up there.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff. And so what are you planning for the holidays?
Not much. We've got a huge crowd living in the house. My Debbie's sons, Adam and Dustin, and Dustin's partner, and a 1-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Who rules the roost.
Wow. That's...
It's going to be a neat Christmas. I can just watch. Think of Calvin tearing all these boxes open. And, of course, after he gets them open, he's not going to play with the toys. He's going to play with the boxes.
That's the way it goes. I was very much that kid. Charlie, a pleasure as always. Thank you for taking the time. And listeners, thank you for tuning in. Please stay tuned. Governor Cox had a lot to say today.